Hi, good morning, and welcome to learntocook.com. This is a live presentation. I'm Chef Mark, chef mentor, and holiday baker today and for the next few weeks. It's an exciting time of year where we get to make cookies with family, maybe kids, maybe grandma, and certainly old-fashioned sugar cookies and gingerbread cookies are popular. We picked some nice recipes and some decorations that you can make as fancy as you like. Now, I wanted to tell you we have a chat function here, also at learntocook.com. I can answer your questions, just type them in, and they will be asked of me, and then I will answer them. I repeat the question, and then I answer them. So we're happy to have you do that, and welcome to our site today. So we're going to make the old-fashioned sugar cookies straight away. Once the dough is done, then I'll wrap it and refrigerate that. And then, of course, we have some already made, and we'll roll out the sugar cookies with some cutters and decorate them, and we'll even bake them, because they only take 6 or 7 minutes to bake. While those are baking, then we'll make the gingerbread cookies, and we've scaled the ingredients. We made it easy for you today, but of course, it's nice to have Santa's helpers put all the ingredients together. It makes holiday baking or cooking a little easier. It's a family thing, so invite the family. Family members like to show up the day of the holiday. Maybe they come the night before and help you make some goodies for them to take home, or have a cookie party or a cookie walk, and it's even more fun. If you're going to have kids make your cookies, line your tables with saran wrap or parchment paper. That way they won't make a big mess, which will happen anyway. But that's what we'll do. Then we'll bake off our gingerbread cookies and make some royal icing, because that's important. What kind of icing can we use to decorate? And we'll show you royal icing. So 3 things today: old-fashioned sugar cookies, gingerbread cookies, and then royal icing. I also have some green royal icing I made ahead of time. I actually made some vanilla buttercream frosting in case you want to frost some of the cookies. And of course, you're allowed to lick your fingers. It's lots of fun. So again, feel free to chime in, type, tell your friends about us. Just a little advertisement for next week. Next Thursday, December 6th, 11:30 Central Time, we'll do the best whipped potatoes you've ever had, plum puree, classic plum puree, no skins, no lumps. And we'll also be doing a holiday dressing or stuffing for your holiday roast or bird. So let's get started. So we scaled 3 cups of flour, and many times we, the hobby chef or the professional baker, a hobby baker, what have you, or the incidental holiday baker, which I am, I make sure I want to use the proper utensil to measure flour with. So we'll diverge for a few moments and say that a liquid measure isn't used for liquid. You need to use volume measure for flour. Make sure the flour is very loose. Maybe you may refrigerate it for some reason, which a lot of people do to prevent bugs and infestation, depends where you live. The flour should be very loose, all right? So not compacted. You never want to compact the flour on the side of the bin. So take the flour out, if it's refrigerated, get a room temperature, all right, and have another vessel that you could loosen it up with. And also realize, making cookies, if you're in Arizona and it's 94 degrees out with humidity of 40% now, the flour might be a little heavier. So keep that in mind. You can always add a little more flour after, but you really can't take the flour out. So the fact is that flour many times is, like they say, hydrophilic, hygroscopic, likes water. So depending on the time of year, many times your cookies will come out different. We have a question already, so go right ahead.
Chef, are you using all-purpose flour?
The question was, am I using all-purpose flour? You bet I am, and that's what we'll use for the cookies. What I like to do is pour enough of the flour over the top, all right? And then I tap the bottom and the sides, and with a flat level, well, that's the cup of flour. And that's important to measure that way. We have 3 cups of flour. Then it says 3 cups of sifted flour. So we have 3 cups of sifted flour. I have 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. Check the expiry date. Maybe it expired last year. Baking powder doesn't last forever. Like the spices you got for your wedding 8 years ago. Those spices are probably no good as a wedding gift. They look nice on the wall, but you'll probably have to dispose them. So a lot of people keep their spices. I know it's an heirloom. But baking powder, after a year or two expiry date, you have to pitch it. your baking powder biscuits won't come out or your cookies. So fresh baking powder, 1.5 teaspoons, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. We'll put that inside as well. We're also going to add the sugar to this, a cup of sugar, granulated sugar. Also, try not to keep that refrigerated. Try to keep that, can be securely tightened in a flour bin or a sugar bin. We're going to sift it now. So I'm going to put all those ingredients. And why do we sift? Well, many times there's an unbreakable piece of sugar, right? It also helps us incorporate the baking powder and the salt. You don't want to use too coarse of a salt because it doesn't go through the screen. It helps us incorporate. Look, there's little red things in there, little sprinkles got in there. So you push all that through and you see that pieces of the sugar, they would be inside the cookie and there'd be a spot inside the cookie, a white spot. So you want to work all that through. So the question was, how much sugar? We have 3 cups of all-purpose flour sifted with a cup of granulated sugar, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, and that sugar doesn't want to cooperate, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. We're going to work it through there, and there it is. Put that to the side. And now we have that nice mixture. I'm going to just stir that again to incorporate it. And I'm going to now cut in, and you can use a pastry cutter, a cup of room temperature butter. Sweet butter is preferred for baking because it's fresher than salted butter. I cut that into small cubes. It's a cup, so it's soft, but not melted, room temp. And if you've made a pie dough before, or you haven't, this is the same process for making pie dough. It's lots of fun to do. I enjoy making my sugar cookies this way. I get up close and personal with the dough. I know you say, well, I don't like to get all that under my nails. Well, you can use the pastry cutter, that little device that looks like a half moon with the tines. You use a fork, of course, but what's nice about this, I get to feel the texture. And then it reminds me of when I'm going to be making pie dough, in another couple of sessions, making an old-fashioned apple pie, which I love to make, which really makes the house smell nice. Then I usually cut in the same way my butter and some shortening to make a great pie crust, and some ice water. So we'll do that too together, and you'll find it's really the perfect pie crust. So it's this cutting process. And if you've made buttermilk biscuits, which I love to make, that same process of cutting in the butter is important. I also have a whole egg I've beaten. I have 3 tablespoons of half and half, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, which I'm going to add to my dough. So we're about 3/4 of the way through. So the important part is to get this into a granular texture. And I'm working that together by hand. If it's too warm, if the butter's too warm, then you're going to chill the dough. So I guess it can't be too warm, but you don't want to be so warm that it's melting in your hands, and you don't want it too cold that it. Question coming in? Yes, just go right ahead.
Yes, Chef. Will the recipes be posted online?
Yes, the question was, will the recipes be posted online? They already have on the Learn to Cook site. They went up. The sugar cookies went up yesterday, and the gingerbread cookies also went up yesterday. But just to refresh your memory, 3 cups of all-purpose flour sifted along with a cup of sugar, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, right? Fresh baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, a cup of butter. See how that nice texture is a granular texture, a few big pieces? Not to worry. We'll just break them up. And then I'm going to add the liquids, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract into the 3 tablespoons of half and half. I'm going to make a well. I'm going to pour that right inside. I'm going to mix it together. I'm going to put this in the machine. It works fine in the machine as well. I guess I'm old-fashioned. I like to do it by hand. I like to feel the texture, especially when I make like a pizza dough, which is fun to make. So you can put it in a food processor if you want as well, with the blade. You use the plastic blade for that. There's a piece there. You can put it in a home mixer with the paddle attachment. But with this, I only have the bowl in my hands to wash. I have to lug that big machine around, and the paddle in the bowl, and you know how it is. Sometimes the place get a lot of flour everywhere. Before you know it, the sink is filled up with all sorts of things. So let's work this together. As our hands are warming up the dough, we're now going to press it into a dough. And then if you do it in the machine, then well, you got to scrape it down. You have to keep scraping down the dough from the sides to get to this point. So I'm just, with brute force, making a dough out of it. Get all the pieces that are in there. Compact it tight. Press it together. You have to be nice to it. You want it to be combined into one nice ball. Old-fashioned cookie dough recipe. You can even break it up and eat it. It tastes pretty good. Or you could put it in ice cream, make cookie dough ice cream. I'm not crazy about cookie dough ice cream, but I love eating cookie dough. So now, if there aren't any questions, I'm going to put this into a sheet pan in the fridge. I'm going to chill it. Now I'm back already, and I want to clean up my station. I have the oven on 400 degrees, a conventional oven.
You didn't wrap the dough before putting it in?
The question is, I didn't wrap the dough before I put it in. I should have the saran wraps right here. So do wrap the dough before you put it in the refrigerator. We have our little elves help us doing that during the process. So now that the dough's rested about an hour, we're ready to preheat the oven, as I mentioned. Or you can put the dough in a baggie, big Ziploc bag, that works well too. So now we're ready to roll out our old-fashioned cookie dough. So a little flour comes in handy. I have some down here. Have the oven on 400 degrees. How much flour? Well, not too much, just enough so they don't stick to the board. I actually do a lot of my own cleaning when I bake, because many times I like to make sure that my cleaning utensils are, in fact, clean the way the chef likes it. So the cookie dough, about an hour in the chill box. Put it in 2 sections. It feels a little cool, which is fine. You don't want it too hot that it sticks a lot and melts, doesn't come off the mold. I have cookie sheet. Flat cookie sheet works fine. I have parchment paper, which I sprayed. I sprayed parchment paper. I also have sprayed no parchment paper, just your choice. If you don't have parchment paper, just grease, as the bakers say, or spray, or butter if you want. A little spray pan coating on your cookie sheet, and you'll be fine. Because we're going to cook them actually we're going to bake them, because we're baking cookies, 6 to 7 minutes, lightly browned around the outside. So let's roll some cookies right now. So we've got a rolling pin, a little flour. To use a rolling pin, you want to put your shoulders over the product and roll so it's even. Give it a quarter turn each time you roll something out. You don't want too much flour, just enough so it doesn't stick. Sometimes you dust some of the excess off. You probably want about 1/4 inch. So your basic rolling pin. Some people have the rolling pin that you can buy for $24. You fill it with ice water, very nice to have. Or you can buy the marble rolling pin, or you can use a regular wooden one. So long the dough is cool, and you're not working on a hot surface with the dishwasher underneath, you'll be okay. So it's cool enough, but warm enough for me to roll out. I always like to give it a little turn if it's sticking. Just a bit more flour. Some people can turn it over if you want. So 1/4 inch. Yeah, that's looking nice. Let's see what cutters we have for holidays. We have a little angel. Always dust your cutters in some flour so they don't stick. Stars, bells, a wreath, a tree. Press it. That's nice. They come out. And then put them on your Of course, these are grandma's cutters, so they don't cut the way they used to. So I have to press a little harder. And there's another tree. Allow some space because they're probably gonna expand, right? Let's do a few wreaths. As well, what else do we have? A bell. Then we're going to re-roll the cookie dough ahead of time. You can also make these cookies and freeze them. They freeze perfectly well. This is lots of fun. I'm glad I did this today. Well, I'm glad you're here today too. A few more stars to make. What else could we do? With trees, stars. There's the angel. No, the angel. Feel free to ask any questions when you like. We're happy to talk and bake and teach at the same time. So a few angels, there we go. And then we'll roll the dough up. And I'll cut a few more. Nice and easy, huh? Now, unlike buttermilk biscuits, you wouldn't want to, you can do this for buttermilk biscuits when you're making biscuits. But remember, the first cutting of biscuits is the most tender. As you rework a biscuit dough, you'll find that the second batch of buttermilk biscuits will be tougher than the first batch. So always mindful when I make biscuits to make sure that I roll it as many as I can the first go round, because the second batch is always tougher because you have toughened the glutens.
How far apart do they need to be? Do they expand?
Yeah, I have about a ½ inch here. So for expansion. Now let's see if we want to decorate those. So how about some bread? I'll put some bulbs on the tree. Oh, the question was how far apart, sorry. How far apart should they be? About a ½ inch or so. So let's put some other colors besides white on there. Well, that's fun, huh?
Question. If you freeze these cookies for later use, how long will this dough be good in the freezer?
I've frozen, the question was if I freeze the cookie dough, how long would it last in the freezer? It does have butter, like ground meat, 30 days maximum, because then the butter starts to deteriorate. And then usually the holidays, you don't have too many cookies sitting around in the freezer. So yeah, that's about a 30-day freezer life, just like with ground meat. So that's lots of fun. We put some sprinkles on the bell, I guess, press those in there. Now you can freeze the cookies cut. undecorated, and when they're frozen, take them out, put them in a Ziploc bag, you know, for future baking off. We can fit them in a sheet pan in your freezer. So I like what I see there. That's pretty nice. So we'll just do a few more. You get the idea, right? And we'll bake them now in a 400-degree oven for about 6 to 7 minutes so they're slightly brown around the side. And then, or 375 in a convection oven with the fan. So I'll put those in the oven, then we'll come back and do the gingerbread cookie dough. I'm going to put my timer on. Let's try 7 minutes. All right, so clean up briefly. Now this dough put back in the freezer, right? It'll be just fine for another time. I'm going to leave my flour here, my rolling pin here, my other items. I'm going to scrape up some of this flour that I have.
Decorate cookies before cooking?
The question is, do you decorate the cookies before cooking? Yes, they melt and they look nice, or you can put the sprinkles on after, or you can ice them after. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to ice them with royal icing. I'm going to show you how to make that after. So both before and after the decorating of the holiday cookies. So that I clean it up somewhat, keep my flour handy, my rolling pin, I'm going to just move my mixing machine over to where you can see what I have here. Let's tidy up. And then we're off to our next item, gingerbread cookies. So for that, I have 4 ounces of butter, again, room temperature, cut up into pieces. I have 4 ounces of brown sugar, also loosened, because I keep many times my brown sugar in the freezer or refrigerator. And even though it's been out here for a little bit, it still needs to be broken up. Now, it's very hard to sift brown sugar. Most recipes don't have you do that, thankfully, because there's always pieces that aren't, that don't want to sift properly. But we're going to put this together. This will be the 4 ounces of butter, 4 ounces of brown sugar, and 6 ounces of molasses. I have an egg, which you're going to add as well. I'm going to make that first stage of dough first. Prepare that first by creaming together. That's the baking process. We call it creaming. Creaming together the eggs and the sugar. If you made cakes before, well, you know that creaming process is important. When you make a buttercream, same idea. You cream the butter with the sugar, and then you add your flavoring. So that's creaming together. We go on high speed. While that's doing its thing, I'm going to get my sifter back here again, because I'll want to, while the 4 ounces of butter and the 4 ounces of brown sugar are creaming together. Can I get the speed now? So it's well mixed. We scrape it down, and while I add the molasses and the egg on low speed, I'm going to sift 12 ounces of all-purpose flour. I have 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda, not to be confused with baking powder, and a half a teaspoon of salt for my gingerbread. So now here's the gingerbread part. This smells wonderful. That's the 2 ounces of ground ginger. Not 2 ounces, 2 teaspoons of ground ginger, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, half a teaspoon of ground nutmeg, and a half a teaspoon of cloves, right? Ground cloves. So that goes in to my sift that. I'm going to add the molasses. Now the question was what kind of mixer I recommend. You can have the handheld mixer, It's, as opposed to this mixer. This can be a little pricey. So you can use the handheld mixer. You just need someone to help you hold the bowl. Like, right, you need like 3 hands almost to do that. So I guess any mixer that works well for you. If you're going to do a lot of baking, you'll probably want to buy, you know, a commercial grade mixer. You can see I'm avoiding the question by avoiding the brand. You can probably imagine what brand this is here. Now, one thing about molasses, it's very slow, right? Slow as molasses. When you have to measure out honey or molasses, put a little oil into the dish, and that actually facilitates all the molasses coming out. So I oiled this dish before I put the molasses in, and sure enough, all the molasses is out. Otherwise, it really sticks to the container. Same with honey. Let's crack the egg into a dish. If I crack it, drop it in, well, might get some shell. So that goes in as well. I'm sifting my 12 ounces of flour, my baking powder. I hear the timer went off on my cookies, so let me just scrape this down and take a peek at my cookies, see how they're doing. So let's give this a little spin around the block here again. I'm going to take our cookies out now. So that was, I think I had 7 minutes. They look nice, they're lightly browned around the edges, which is what we want, right? You can see that. So 6, 7 minutes, lightly brown around the edges. And you see the cookies, the frosting, the toppings, they melt, so it looks nice. So there's a nice butter cookie for you. And we'll ice them after. Let those cool. So this is looking like gingerbread cookies to me. You know, you can also make a gingerbread cookie dough with the addition of shortening. And we'd be happy to provide you, if you want, gingerbread, not gingerbread cookie dough, gingerbread house dough, which is different. So if you want to make a gingerbread house, and Lord knows we've made enough of those in the past, that we'd be happy to give you the recipe for gingerbread house dough, which has shortening. So just, you know, email us and we're happy to help you out. So that's looking pretty good. That's what I want, if you can see that. It's well incorporated. I'm going to scrape down just some of that molasses, though with 6 ounces, if there's a minuscule amount missing, that's okay. Scrape the bottom of the bowl, because sometimes your mixer doesn't always reach. The paddle many times doesn't reach the bottom. Scrape the paddle of any butter. Now, I don't mind eating cookie dough, but I don't care to taste a gingerbread cookie dough. It's a little too strong with that unsulfured blackstrap molasses. So let me put this over here out of the way. Make some space. A little bit, because now I'm going to add the flour. Clean as you go, right? Clean as you go. Nice mise en place. Everything put in place, mise en place, put in place, or keep your mess in one place, as we say. So now it's just a matter of adding the flour, and if you've measured the flour, you know how much is there. But even though it's always good to put some flour in at a time, don't always dump all the flour in, because you dump all the flour you don't know was measured properly, right? Or for some reason the flour is older. All-purpose flour is all-purpose flour, but I guess it's different the world over. So we put a little bit at a time. And this recipe I know is a moist recipe. I'm going to let it spin around the block quick. So just a little more flour. That last half cup might do it. And then brush it off. Let that spin for a few moments around. We're not worrying about it being tough. We're not making bread, so we just give it the high speed. I'm going to scrape it down and give it 1 or 2 more turns, and then we're ready to take that out and to make our cookies with that dough as well. See, it's done now. Gingerbread cookie dough is done. Take the paddle out. I'm going to scrape that off. It's different when you're baking gingerbread cookies. It has to be 325 degrees, not 400 for the butter cookies. 325 degrees in your regular home, like my home conventional oven. You have the convection oven, 300 degrees. You have to realize convection with the fan the temperature needs to be lower. Let's taste it anyway. It tastes really good. Must be a really great recipe. I don't think they have gingerbread ice cream. I haven't seen it yet in the store, so you never know. So we're going to get that dough out of there. Yeah, we don't want to bake the gingerbread cookies too long because, you can't really tell if they're brown around the edges because the dough is already brown. So you just have to make sure you watch them and cook them for about 10 minutes at 300 degree convection or 325 conventional. So I'll put a little flour in my hands, that'll help. And just get that dough out of there. A little floured hands. And myself a very nice, if I do say so myself, some very nice gingerbread cookie dough. That's way too soft to roll out, right? So we'll put that in a bag in the fridge. I'm going to clean up, and then we're going to roll out and cut our gingerbread cookies. Let me move this mixer just out of the off camera. Wash my hands after that. And let's put all these ingredients that we've used off to the side. I'm going to lower my oven down to 300 degrees because I have a convection oven. Just let it air out for a few moments. And now we're back with the gingerbread cookie dough. So those look nice, those cookies. Let's put the sugar cookies, put them cool a little longer, because I'm anxious to eat them, as I'm sure you are as well. And then when these cool, we can ice them, so they're still warm yet. A few angels here and there, and we'll ice those. I'll leave them on that tray. I'll leave this right here. Let's have a little damp towel. Let's move this. Let's see how this gingerbread dough is cooler than the old-fashioned sugar cookie dough. But there's molasses, so it's more pliable. Doesn't firm up as the old-fashioned sugar cookie dough. That's really takes a while to get to be this pliable. Once you've refrigerated, this is probably sitting out 3 hours to get that soft, and it might be a little too soft for rolling the sugar cookie dough. I'm just saying that because This you can keep refrigerated pretty much right up until now, which we just did. So you just want to chill it so it's firmer. The molasses keeps it more flexible. And it gives that traditional color. And we tasted it, it tasted pretty good too. So I have that. I'll have some flour on the board. I have my spray trays. Let's move this over here. I have a Santa Claus cutter that I'm going to use. And I'm going to show you royal icing. Then how to make your paper cone with a 6 by 11 piece of paper. So that's that.
Did you create this recipe?
All of our recipes are either the Scott Fail Learn to Cook recipes. You betcha. Oh, that's the question. Did I create these recipes? Well, old-fashioned sugar cookies and gingerbread recipes, they've been around for a long time. So I wasn't the original creator, but we add our own little touch to each recipe. As bakers like to add their own flavoring and seasoning. So in effect, yes, we can't copyright or patent it, but we're proud of it. So I think you'll enjoy making them. So I'm rolling that out. You can see it's firmer than the, it doesn't break up as much as the butter cookie dough. Not that it's breaking up, just, you can be more rough with it. So that, I like to move the dough around. Feel for the uneven areas. Roll over. If you're going to use a rolling pin, stand over the dough. Use your shoulders to press forward evenly, right? Otherwise, if you're doing this, then all of a sudden, this is thin and that's thick, right? Because you're doing that, you naturally tendency to go up. So you want a 1/4 inch. I like to keep it moving that way. Go from the center out, right? Center out. At this point, we're not going to flip it over. There's no need to. It's really nice to work with dough. I just think it's a lot of fun. And it's great to make your own cookies and do a cookie exchange. It's really beautiful. All right, so it's about a 1/4 inch. As I'm rolling it up, it's getting a little thinner, but it's nice and cool. Feeling good. Nice dough. Just even off the edges here. You feel the thickness. Off that goes to there. And then we have some cutters. I think this is cool enough to take off and put those cookies to the side. I got like bakers say, greased sheet pan, but I like to say oiled or sprayed. And I have a bear cutter, so a teddy bear. So right here, a few teddy bears. You get the drift, right? Easy enough to prepare, about a 1/2 inch. Santa Claus. I'll press straight down, and then take Santa Claus out, put it right there. And then put a few for eyes on there. See how that works. I think his eyes are about here. Yeah, most definitely. And then cut a little cherry for his nose.
Is it okay to use a French rolling pin?
The question was, is it okay to use a French rolling pin? Oh, well, that's a good question. You can use a French rolling pin. The big difference with this rolling pin, the French rolling pin, usually it's tapered on the ends. So the French rolling pin can be tapered. One style can be tapered, and that's usually used for making a croissant triangle. You can use also a large baton, which is, it looks like this without handles. That's the French rolling pin too. It looks like a large nightstick. That you can use as well. There's no handles. just to be careful when you're using a no-handle rolling pin, because you may tend to press ridges in the dough. That would be certainly someone that's skilled, knows about that, and they have a skill in using that. So with practice makes perfect.
Question, can you use parchment paper on this tray also?
The question was, can you use parchment paper? Yes, if you have parchment paper, all the better yet. So right there, right on your cookie sheet pan, just lay it on there. I have double insurance, I put a little spray on it. But you can just put parchment paper right on the cookie sheet pan. And they sell those on a roll now in stores, most stores. So I think you can see how nice it is to make those gingerbread cookies. A 1/4 inch is great. Once you get going, you can really crank them out. You have individual dough for your kids. Give each kid a little roll, a little ball of dough, and then have them add it.
Question, can you make a hole in the dough to use as an ornament?
The question is, can you make a hole in the dough, use that ornament? What a great idea. So you don't want to put it too close to the edge because it might break. So if you have Santa right about here, his hat, and there you have a little hole as an ornament, and certainly for the teddy bears as well, right? That's a great question. And then the star right about here, because you want to be sure that it doesn't have it too close to break off. Yeah, make great ornaments, huh? Nice idea. I'm glad you asked that question. See, I think of those things when I get inspired by our customer feedback. So let's make a few more, another angel. And then we'll put these in the oven for 10 minutes, because then we're going to make royal icing. So I guess that's the last one we'll put on that. And I bake them as they are, then decorate them after. So in the oven they go. So we have the 10-minute timer on. We'll see how that goes. If it rings, then we'll be taking them out. So there's their dough. Roll it back up again.
Question, if you roll them thicker, will they be chewy?
If you roll them thicker, they're hard to, they're not chewy, they're hard to eat because it really becomes hard. Unlike sugar cookies, which will crumble. If you roll them too thick, you're going to have trouble eating them. But they'll make good ornaments that way if they're a little thicker. So that's a good byproduct as well to that question. So put that back in the fridge as well, or freeze it. Yeah, we want you to have fun with learntocook.com. It's a way to make cooking approachable and easy for you. We encourage your participation. It's a fun thing. It's an event. You can share with someone. Making food together, right? We all enjoy eating food. Something we all have in common is eating some great food. And I want you to feel welcome to our program and enjoy it each week. So what was I going to do now? Oh yeah, I'm going to make royal icing. So I'm bringing the machine back. My mixing machine back. I'm going to plug it back in. I have my bowl. Got the whisk attachment. I put in here 8 ounces powdered sugar, confectionery sugar, 10x sugar. The British call it castor sugar, whatever it is, this powdered sugar. So 8 ounces by weight. I put in a 1/2 ounce by weight, an item that this time of year becomes hard to find. Doesn't want to go in there, which is cream of tartar. Cream of tartar can be expensive. Well, whatever. Cream of tartar can be expensive, so I wish I had stocking cream of tartar, but this was $8. We have 8 ounces of powdered sugar, 1/2 ounce of cream of tartar that I mixed earlier. I just mixed by hand. I guess that'll be all right. Let's try it again. Let's put the little button back there and push. There you are. Technology, right? high tech. Put the whip or whisk in 8 ounces of powdered sugar. He's in there, he's in there. A half ounce of cream of tartar and 1 to 2 egg whites. And we're going to make royal icing because it actually hardens. And I have some here. It actually hardens upon it being exposed to air. So let's give that a little spin. And the egg whites are combining the cream of tartar, which is tartaric acid, and that will toughen and tighten up the egg whites, the protein egg whites. Then with the sugar, it makes a paste, so we can decorate. So I want to scrape it down now. Scrape down the flour, the powdered sugar.
Question, Chef?
Go right ahead.
Is there something you can use if you can't find cream of tartar?
Well, the question is, if there's something you can use if you can't find cream of tartar. No, you cannot. Well, I guess there's never a final no. You can use a white vinegar. That'll help stabilize it. But I've always been able to find cream of tartar, so you'd always send away for it as well, too. This time of year is very popular. So we're whisking that. Turn it off.
Can I use meringue powder instead of egg whites?
The question is, can I use meringue powder instead of egg whites? You bet. Meringue powder is nice. It makes it easy, and it's very stable. So yes, meringue powder, very nice to have in home for baking. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that question. Can you say it again?
Do you recommend using pasteurized eggs for the icing?
The question was, do I recommend using pasteurized eggs for the icing? You can buy frozen egg whites, and once they're frozen, that kills the salmonella. So that's important to do. But I have raw egg whites in this recipe. And you want to be concerned about that. If you're the infants, immune compromised, or the very elderly, you wouldn't want to have raw egg whites. So that's a smaller, but a part of the population you have to be mindful of regarding salmonella. So there's my royal icing. Let's get the machine out of the way. The timer went off for my gingerbread cookies, so here is the royal icing that I've made. And I have some in this bag. I'll show you how to make the bag so to take my cookies out of the oven. I might need a helper on the show. Three more minutes on those gingerbread cookies. All right, so we're back to royal icing. And I have a 6 by 11 piece of paper, because I want to make a paper cone for my royal icing, or you can put buttercream icing, which you can buy in those frosting you can buy in the small shelf-stable containers in the supermarket. You can buy regular frosting, any color you like. You have to have some vanilla buttercream frosting. So your choice, make it easy on yourself. So you're going to cut let me wash my hands. You're going to cut a 6-inch by 11-inch piece of parchment paper. So 6 by 11. And then, it's hard to do it upside down, but you just grab the top left corner, bring it to about here. See that? And then this side goes on the reverse. And you bring them together so you adjust the opening of the pastry bag. So, fine tip. See? And then piece of tape. Happen to have handy tape to the bottom of your table. And There's a nice pastry cone, you know, to decorate the fine point. Then you fill it with a royal icing. And then you push it down. What we like to do, and pastry chefs like to do, or bakers, make sure you fold over the sides, right? And fold down the top. That way it'll have it coming up the top of your hand, the back of your hand. And then you press it down there. It comes down all the way, see, to the end. It tastes pretty good. So depending on how small, you know, the cookie is, or how large you want, you can adjust the opening. But once you cut it, you really, can't, you know, put it back on. So you don't want it too large, the opening, or you want it too small. So let's see what we can do here. So we can drizzle on the top. So just a little simple crossover. Then with the little green food color I put into this one, I think that's real tiny. I'll have to cut that. And we could also draw that across as well. So I'm going to take my gingerbread cookies because I heard the bell ring. Don't break the oven, all right? So these are looking nice. These are hot, so be careful. Put some on to remind you. They should be soft but firm. They smell great. It was, I guess, 12, 13 minutes. It depends on your oven. Like those gloves, put those out of the way. And we can do a few things with these cookies here. We can go across if you like. You make this a little tighter. You can just go right across the sugar cookie to make a nice garland. Pretty nice. Right there. Oh, well then we could, I guess we can just plain old ice the entire cookie, right? You can ice it and then put some sprinkles on the top. I think I might have that one. I like a lot of frosting on mine. So that tray is hot. And you know, when you're working in the kitchen and the tray is hot, you're with other people, we like to put a towel nearby so people know that it's hot. You don't want someone picking it up, burning themselves. I'm not going to move them. They're moving though, which is nice. See? They're firm but soft. It's going to be great. There's your ornament Santa. And I think that's pretty much it for today, unless there are any more questions to talk about our holiday cookies. I look forward to sharing these with you, and look forward to you joining us each week at 11:30 Central Time. So if there are any more questions next week, we'll be doing, as I said, plum puree, whipped potatoes, really nice for a fine meal any time of year. And we'll be making a beautiful stuffing or dressing for your bird or for your roast for the holiday season. So here's wishing you happy baking. Have a great day and bon appetit. Bye-bye.